خلاويص لسه
خلاويص.
لو عقلك لعبك خده على قد عقله.
At the beginning of the 4th episode, Refaat gives a lecture about the plague in the Middle Ages, and during this, he observes that none of the students are paying attention to his lecture. After his lecture, when he returns to his office, he gets spooked to see Shiraz's reflection in the glass on a bookshelf. He closes the window, and then Maggie enters the room, asking him why he risked his life in the desert when he had to leave Hawaii. Refaat retorts by asking if he questioned her about her divorce, to which she accuses him of being a coward. Refaat accepts that he is a coward and admits that he's afraid people he loves will get hurt because of him. Maggie questions whether it's somewhat arrogant to assume that everything happens because of him and that it's his sole responsibility to protect everyone. Refaat acknowledges that he was just thinking about how Maggie is always honest with him and that she knows exactly how he feels. Only then his phone rings, and his sister-in-law Naiad tells him that he needs to come home as soon as possible. He becomes concerned and believes that something might have happened to his mother, which aligns with what the tarot cards warned him about. Later, when Refaat is on his way home, he observes construction work taking place at Shiraz's house. Then one of his childhood friends, Iman, comes to him and Refaat inquires about the house. Iman informs him that the new owner intends to demolish the place, and upon hearing this, Refaat decides to leave. Refaat arrives at his mother's house, where Refaat informs him that there's nothing wrong with their mother, and Naiad explains that Refaat was called by a Naiad. Refaat goes to Refaat and tries to talk to him, but Naiad says that he has been like this ever since he heard the call. Refaat asks Naiad if he might have ingested something strange or taken any substances. However, Naiad insists that Refaat's behavior is linked to the call he received from the Naiad, and she fears he will be lost forever to this mysterious woman's call. As Refaat continues to hear the female voice calling his name, he starts banging his head against the wall in distress. Refaat attempts to calm Refaat down, and the others in the house help him get Refaat to lie down on the bed. Refaat goes to the health unit seeking help, and he encounters Dr. Kamil, who is delighted to see him and mentions that he was his student many years ago. Kamil invites Refaat inside, but Refaat immediately requests an anticonvulsant tranquilizer and asks if they can test a blood sample. Kamil inquires if these medications are for his brother and mentions that he examined him, finding no physical issues. Kamil then explains to Refaat that he's been maintaining a log of all the Naiad's victims who exhibited identical symptoms. Strangely, they all reported hearing a woman calling their name. He mentions that, unfortunately, he couldn't gather information about the initial cases of disappearances, but so far, all those who disappeared were men. Refaat finds all this nonsense and asks if he can get medicines now. Kamil provides Refaat with some chilling information, explaining that the Naiad is a monster who can take on the appearance of an incredibly beautiful woman. When you approach the canal alone, she will call out to you. Upon the first call, you become entranced by her voice and obsessed with the idea of seeing her. After the second call, your own family will feel like strangers to you. And with the third call, you lose control of your senses completely. At that point, nothing can stop you from following her to your doom. Refaat arrives home to find villagers gathered there, and Maggie explains that Naiad called them for help. Refaat is furious when he discovers Sheikh Salah practicing sorcery in his house and forcibly throws him out, warning him that if he returns, he will call the police. Refaat apologizes to them and asks them to leave, and Salah says that there's only one solution, and that's the iron rod, or else Refaat will be lost like the others. Refaat then instructs Refaat to return to Cairo with Talat and find Dr. Sami at the university to have the blood sample tested. He also promises Kamil that if he helps him with this task, he will write him a letter of recommendation for his transfer. Refaat questions Maggie about whether he should allow that man to deceive his brother. Maggie suggests that he should consider what Refaat would have wanted, and there's a chance that the man could be of help. He asks now he is supposed to abandon science for superstition. Maggie questions why is all of this happening, to which Refaat asks if she is suggesting it's all his fault, that he is cursed, possessed, or something paranormal is responsible for everything she and he have seen. He says it may be true that fantasy provides them with needs and comforting answers, but science reason gives better ones. The Naiad he bet her is just a scam that old crook made up with. The female assistant tricks the victims, and that so-called doctor from the clinic with the list of names is on it too. He drugs the victims, and then they sell the cure, and he will prove it to everyone. After this, Refaat, Kamil, and Maggie head towards the stream, and Refaat asks Kamil about the iron rod. Kamil explains that Sheikh Salah uses a hot iron rod in the victim's ear as part of his supposed treatment or ritual. They then take a seat by the stream and begin waiting for Naiad's call. After a while, Refaat hears his name spoken by a female voice. He rushes towards the sugarcane field, believing he heard something. However, he becomes separated from Camel and Maggie, and he encounters a floating girl above the water who continues to call his name, and Camel injects him with something. After regaining consciousness, Refaat finds himself tied to a chair, and Naiad expresses her disappointment that he passed out when she needed his help. Camel suggests sending for Sheikh Salah, but Maggie recommends taking her back to the clinic and showing her the medications he has. Now, when they reach the clinic, Maggie asks Camel to make tea for her. He goes to make tea, and during this time, Maggie starts searching for something. However, Camel returns, and just then, the phone starts ringing. Maggie picks up the call, and Refaat tells her that the blood test results are good, but it will take some time to write up the report. Meanwhile, Hawaida is alone at home with Taha, and he asks her if she saw her too. She asks what he is talking about, and Taha asks her why she is looking for Uncle Refaat. He is very worried about him and wonders why she won't leave him alone. Only then does the phone rings, and as Hawaida picks up the call, she is informed about Refaat and Refaat. Later, Refaat hears Naiad's voice calling his name again, and Refaat tells him that this is the end. Refaat insists that it's not the end, but a trick. He believes that Camel drugged him, and that this is all part of their plan. Refaat asks him to accept that it's Naiad, but Refaat refuses to accept it, saying he is not ignorant enough. Refaat questions if he thinks he is ignorant. He shares how he has worked hard in the fields to support Refaat's education, but now Refaat calls him ignorant. He has a limp because he was crippled when he fell from the roof. He still worked after. Also, he could study, and did it mean so little to him? He says if he forgot how hard it was beaten in his place when he set fire to that bond. It was because he knew he'd never be able to handle a beating from their father. Refaat swears he never wanted to hurt him. For 30 years, he has been telling him he never set that bond on fire. Dad made him work in the fields because he was stronger than him, while he was too weak for anything except books, and he knew Dad only loved him. Refaat expresses that he disappointed their father, but despite how it may have appeared, their father was never a true father to him like Refaat was. He tells Refaat that he is here for him now. Only then Naiad enters the room with a hot iron rod in her hand. She tells Refaat that she knows what she has to do and that she will pierce Refaat's ear through, like Sheikh Salah told him. Refaat tries to stop her, but only then does he start hearing a female voice humming and screams for help. As Naiad approaches him, he desperately suggests that she should pierce his ear before Refaat because he can't bear it. However, he suddenly gets up and takes the hot iron rod from Naiad's hand, and then ties her to the chair. He asks her to give him half an hour to solve this, as he knows what they are doing, and he is going to prove it to her. Refaat goes straight to Sheikh Salah's house and confronts him, accusing him of having the girl pose as the Naiad to deceive them. He also says that it was the female assistant Sama who had been making the calls. Salah, feeling cornered, points a gun at Refaat and demands that he leave his house. Refaat responds by claiming that he has already called the police, and they're on their way. Salah informs Refaat that Sama is mute and no longer has a tongue, refuting Refaat's accusation. He then warns Refaat to leave before he takes drastic action. As Refaat turns to leave, Sama suddenly knocks Salah to the ground, creating a surprising turn of events. Meanwhile, Maggie states that Refaat claimed the Naiad is actually this woman. Camel rebuts her argument, stating that this is impossible because she is mute, as confirmed by her father Sheikh Salah. He treated her himself after she lost her tongue in a vicious attack. After this, he checks Sama's file and is shocked to see that Sama's last name is the same as Taysir's. It never occurred to him that Sheikh Salah's last name is Al-Takai, which would mean his son was summoned too. Sama and Taysir also share the same birthday, and he can only imagine the pain of knowing her twin sister was a victim as well. Sama takes Refaat to a secret room where an old man is imprisoned. The old man confesses that he had sexually assaulted Sheikh Salah's daughter Taysir years ago, who was the twin sister of this girl, but he didn't kill her. Now here in a flashback, it is shown that Sheikh Salah tried to kill Taysir to hide the shame. She ran to the village, bleeding and calling for help, but nobody came to her, and when she reached that stream, Sheikh Salah killed her by slitting her throat, and since then, her ghost has been haunting the men who didn't help her. Sheikh Salah cut out Sama's tongue himself to keep the truth hidden, but the villagers, including him, can hear Taysir all the time. Refaat, unable to believe this revelation, accuses them all of lying and leaves the place. On the other hand, Hawaida reaches Refaat's house and hears Naiad crying. She is shocked to see Naiad in this condition and rushes to free her hands. Meanwhile, on his way back home, Refaat once again hears Taysir's voice calling his name. He is drawn towards the voice, and when he goes closer, he sees Taysir's spirit floating above the stream. She calls to him, and Refaat jumps into the water. Here, Naiad approaches Refaat with an iron rod, but then she begins to hear some whispering, and she becomes increasingly shocked and begins to choke. Some unseen force pushes her, rendering her unconscious. As Hawaida rushes toward her, Refaat sees Shiraz's spirit standing next to him, and Hawaida and Naiad are shocked to see that Refaat has disappeared. Meanwhile, Refaat dives deep into the stream, where he finds Taysir's remains. Hawaida and Naiad come out searching for Refaat, where they meet Maggie and Camel, and they tell them that Refaat has gone missing. Refaat tries to bring Taysir's remains out of the water, but suddenly Refaat arrives and attempts to stop him. However, after some time, Refaat starts suffocating and drowns in the water, and Refaat manages to retrieve Taysir's remains from the water. Meanwhile, Naiad and everyone else also reach there, and Refaat tells them that Refaat has drowned in water. Later, Camel informs Refaat that Salah was arrested. Refaat suggests that Camel should give him his research paper, and he'll read it over before writing him a recommendation letter. After a few days, as Refaat was leaving, Naiad approached him and explained that everyone was saying she untied Refaat, but she swore she never touched the ropes. She felt something lift her up and throw her across the room, and when she looked up, Refaat had vanished, as if he was never there. Refaat acknowledged that fate had its own plans, and he had to accept whatever was coming. He then visits Refaat's grave and expresses his apologies, promising to take good care of his daughters. He admits that he is deeply sorry for setting that bonfire and for not having the courage to tell Refaat the truth. He acknowledges that everything Refaat said about him was true and that he bears the responsibility for the past. Thanks for joining us on our horror movie recap adventure. If you enjoyed the chills, subscribing would mean a lot. Drop a comment to share your thoughts and keep the terror alive. Stay spooky and see you soon.